week, Mr. Joe Theismann. Joe T, what's up, dude?
Hi, guys. How are you?
We're fantastic, Joe. How you doing, man?
Good, Mitch.
Joe,
is it so cold where you're at that you can't get on the links?
See, I don't know where Joe is.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
That's why I asked, is it?
Memphis, it's just as cold. I'm back and forth between D.C. and Memphis. I managed to escape one and jump into another one. The difference is just changing refrigerators. I didn't change the temperatures.
Joe, did you guys get the crazy ice storm? I know Nashville is really having a lot of people are still without power and stuff. Did you guys get that?
Same thing in the Memphis area. That whole storm
that's
came
terrible.
right through there. It's just that they haven't been able to get to the side roads much at all. So Robin, God bless her, my wife. While I was out in California for a little bit, she was cooped up for like 7 straight days in the house. So I came home. It was like okay, calm down.
She just handed you a shovel and said, "Get to work."
That's exactly right. It's not hi, how, honey, how are you? Like, here, do this. And I don't blame her one bit.
Joe, we wanted to talk to you this week just as, it is Super Bowl week and kind of talking about some of your memories from the Super Bowls. And I'm not sure like how or why this came across my timeline, but it was the Super Bowl against the Dolphins. Obviously, you guys won, and Riggo makes that iconic play towards the end of that game. But I think it was the first half, and you got to forgive me because I didn't watch that Super Bowl live, right? But you had a batted pass in the air and then had the wherewithal to make sure it didn't get picked off at what would have been the goal line. Can you talk us through that play? Because that seems like one of these really, really smart, important plays that happens in a Super Bowl that people maybe don't remember how important it was.
Yeah, I think it was like, I think it might have been in the third quarter. What it was is I ran, we ran a quick hitch. We were about our 11-yard line, and we were just going to run a quick hitch, little 5-yard hitches outside. And I turned to the right to throw, I believe it was to Alvin, and they rolled the coverage that way. And so I came back and I turned and I started to throw it out to the left, and Kim Bokamper knocked the ball up in the air. And I still remember that play like it was yesterday because everything went into slow motion. It's like you could you could see each lace on the football, and it just sort of spun in the air. And Kim had his arms outstretched, ready to catch it right around the goal line. And it's like you're going, I've got to get to the ball. I mean, it's like that's your mind going, okay, so. And I couldn't run to it, so at the last minute I just dove and got my hand in between his arms and managed to knock the ball out of the way. And I remember sitting in the end zone looking at him going, boy, that was close. And so that we'd have been behind. We were down at that time, and we'd have probably gone down 10, and we weren't a football team that was going to go out and throw it around. So that particular play, I think, really allowed us to continue to go with the plan we wanted, and that was run John and play great defense. David Woodley was 0 for 17 in the second half in that game.
Damn, that's crazy.
That whole week started with us going to Pasadena and the guys, our defensive backs getting off the plane in battle fatigue, the Smurfs going to Disneyland, John in top hat and tails going to Mr. Cook's party with boots on. I mean, we were not a normal group. It was just a little bit different, but it was really who we were.
Yeah,
I've always defined those particular two teams as characters with character.
Yeah,
like if everybody was lined up on the side of the street and coach said, "I want you on the other side," no one would wait for traffic to stop. Guys would try and go take on high tension wires. They try and swing across, or they try to run through traffic. I mean, that's what we were as a football team, a bunch of characters with character. But that particular play, I think, would have really, if that hadn't happened, it would have been significantly different for us because we just weren't built against that defense to drop back and just throw the football.
Yeah, Joe, people always talk about, what are you going to do different? And I've always felt you be who you are. And when you get to the Super Bowl, people that try to change and become, I understand you may try to change a little thing or come out with something that may be something a little nuanced that they don't understand, but you have to be who you are once you get to the big game, right?
Yeah, you have to be what got you there. You can't all of a sudden throw out a game. You have different game plans for different teams anyway. And now you have 2 full weeks to prepare. And see, back then we didn't have the bye. So now
really?
Teams are very used to having a bye. That first one, it was a strike season. We played right through. We had 1 week to get ready. It was just business as usual. We got ready for Super Bowl 18. Then we had a bye. I mean, I was ready to go on Thursday. And Friday, I just lost my edge a little bit. And of course, I played a bad football game. What can I tell you? I didn't throw the ball well. We were unable to complete passes, and we had some things happen against us: a blocked punt, interception for a touchdown. Marcus breaks a big play, and all of a sudden you lose the ball game. But having the 2 weeks is interesting. Now that's a chance for the teams to be able to do the ticketing, get your family squared away.
Right.
Coaches explain what you need to do. But you're absolutely right, Mitch. You can't all of a sudden say we're going to throw out what got us here. Basically, I see Seattle getting the ball out of Sam's hands into JSN. I mean, and Cooper Kupp, and I see that what they did to get here. As far as Drake goes, Drake was a big part running the football of how New England got there. I don't see that happening in this Super Bowl. I don't see Drake May rushing for 60 yards in this game. I think their secondary, they're a very complete football team, Seattle is, at every level. Defensive line, linebackers, secondary. And then when you look at New England's wide receivers, who's the threat?
Yeah.
Where is the threat? And I thought about this the other day, and nobody really talks about it. What happens if you're down? Which team, if you look at these teams just on paper right now, which team do you think has the capability to come back if they're down with the personnel they have and the experience they have? And you got to put Sam Darnold in a heck of an experience situation, things that he's been through. But then Drake hasn't, and the game against Denver really wasn't a true opportunity for Drake to be able to get a feel for being able to drop back, being able to throw the ball in timing. Made some good throws early in that game, but then all of a sudden the second half went to crap. And he had to run the ball to try. And basically the last 3 drives by New England, all they were doing was protecting a lead.
Yeah. The AFC title game was pretty remarkable because I wondered, New England got super conservative down the stretch there.
Yep.
And with that weather and everything, it paid off. But Denver did have a kick to tie it, and the kid misses it. I think Seattle's a favorite for a reason. But, Joe, I'm curious. And B, I'm curious for you, too. Mm-hmm. Mike McDonald is in his second year as a head coach. He seems like a true whiz kid, right? And that Seattle team is loaded. But Mike Vrabel, he's never been there as a coach, but he's been there numerous times as a player.
Yeah.
What does that experience difference for the Patriots on the head coaching side? What does that give New England this week?
Well, Joe Gibbs had never been to one. Don Shula had been to many. I mean, it's almost a little bit, you talk about 82, the Super Bowl 17. That was our first time to be there, and Coach Shula had been there. So it really, you talk to the guys and say, look, this is the most important thing is how do you plan that week of preparation or these 2 weeks of preparation? You tell your players the same thing. Take care of yourselves. Get your rest. Be smart. Don't do something stupid. Because we've had Super Bowl experiences where guys have done stupid stuff. Broken curfew, done different things. I mean, different, as you look around the league and look at the Super Bowls, there's guys that have done that.
Yeah.
In this case, you just want to be able to give them the opportunity to understand what's at stake. Not going to put any pressure on you. Let's play the way we play. Let's play loose. Let's play like we've always played. We've got a great game plan. We know what we want to do. Now it's a question of execution. These games become just like playing somebody in your division more than once. You basically know what to expect. You know what you're going to see. Then it becomes player execution that makes a difference.
Totally. Talking with our friend Joe Theismann here on the Rude Guest Hotline. You can give Joe a follow at Theismann7, 2 N's in Theismann, of course. Joe, you were a quarterback that I like. Dan Quinn always uses this phrase. He says, I like guys that have some journey to them, where not everything came easily and right away, right? And your quarterback journey had some of that. When you see Sam Darnold and where he's been over the years and where he is now, what do you appreciate about him?
I appreciate his mental toughness and his resiliency. The thing is you have to, as people continue to criticize you and write you off, you just can't buy into it. You have to have a belief that you can get it done. You have to have a belief in what can be done. And you've heard me say this ad nauseum. The quarterback position is the single most dependent position on the field. Now, I was looking at some highlights of Sam with the Jets, and I looked at some of the decisions that he made as a young quarterback, throwing the ball back across the field, throwing the ball up, hoping somebody's going to catch it. You don't see that anymore. Mm-hmm. You see a much more disciplined quarterback who gets the ball out of his hands. He's not going to hold the ball a long time. Now, maybe a ball gets batted up in the air, but I do not expect Sam to be, scrambling to the right and try and throw it back to the left. First of all, because he's older. And, he doesn't have, when you're young, you think you have an arm that can throw through everywhere, through anything. But I think the discipline within the system is going to allow him to play well, as he has played well. I mean, guys, the guy was 14-2 in Minnesota last year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which, if you look at some of the headlines now, is why did Minnesota get rid of Sam? How did that possibly happen? And we've seen this happen on different occasions. And now all of a sudden Seattle's the benefactor with a lot of people around him. A terrific defense. And Rashid Shaheed, you can't discount the special teams aspect of this Super Bowl. Both teams have excellent returners, but so do you kick to? Do you kick to him? I mean, that's basically the bottom line. Do you kick to Rashid? Or how do you kick? Because now, if you try and short kick it, the ball's on the 40-yard line. Yeah. So you've got different places where you have to really, as a special teams coach and an execution guy, when it comes to kicking it, where are you going to put it? If you try and kick it to a corner, does it go out of bounds?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. But that is where I think most of the thought has to be when you look at dealing with Seattle's kickoff returns. That one specific area. How do we handle it? What do we do in this particular situation? Where do we want to put it? I mean, it's going to require precision by the kicker to be able to contain him because he's explosive. I mean, think back to Desmond Howard in the Super Bowl, returning the kick for a touchdown. So, and like, Fulton Walker against Super Bowl 17. We start the second half. We kick the ball to Fulton Walker. He goes for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. It is crazy. Yep. It seems like in the Super Bowl, there's always a big special teams play.
And that's why you need the whole team at that time.
Hell, Joe, the NFC title game this year had it.
Yeah.
Right.
Joe, what is it that, you get to that, you have a whole week off. Then you leave, you go early, your families come a few days later. What is the one thing that was concerning you the most? Because, for me, I was a quarterback in college, so now my second year, there was a lot of older guys on the team, but I also knew the guys that didn't need a lot of time. So I was I was just concerned that was all of us going to make it to Sunday?
Yeah. Lack of focus.
Yeah.
Do you lose that little bit? Like I said, for the 2 weeks for me, I just, your body, we're creatures of habit. I mean, meetings, practice, study, meetings, go home, get up, go to meetings, and and that goes on for all. But that, like I say, now you've got the bye, which gives you a little bit of a flavor what coaches want to do. But when it comes to this game, but you want to try and just think about the things that you did, not what might happen. Mm-hmm. Just focus on this, and you don't really take the week off, Mitch. You'll practice and you'll go through the routines that keep you sharp as an individual. This really becomes focusing as an individual. Coaches can talk and preach all they want, but the guys have to be able to figure it out. And I think in Mike's case, that's exactly what it is. He's laid out for them. Okay, look, this is the week. This is the way it works, and these are the things that we need to do. Both, Mike Vrabel and Mike McDaniel. McDonald, excuse me.
So, Joe, as we get closer here, it seems like you like the Seahawks in this one.
I do.
What do you think for Drake May, who had a really fantastic regular season, but really in the playoffs, he's that football's gotten leaky on him. You know what I mean? He's taken a bunch of sacks. He seems a little shaky all of a sudden. Do you think the week off helps him, hurts him?
I don't think it hurts him. I don't, and how much does it help him? Like I said, they're used to it now. They have a bye. So what did you do during the bye?
Mm-hmm.
What happens basically in this game is the 2 weeks gives you a chance it's the families, ticketing,
yep,
media obligations, sort of the stuff you don't have to cram into 1 week. So everything sort of has a nice pace to it. I think Drake, number one, has to protect the ball in the pocket. At times, he's still hanging in that pocket to try and get rid of the football, which has created fumble issues and pressure issues. I think he's got to be very decisive with the football. I think Hunter Henry is going to be important. The tight ends are going to be important, Hooper and Henry, for New England to be able to get the ball out of his hands. Because, when you look at the wide receiving core of New England, Stephon is certainly, been there, but, how many people is he going to run by? Booty is probably the one that can do it. Holland's another one. Williams another one. Douglas another one. I mean, these are guys that are going to have to, if you get the chance to make plays, you got to make plays.
Yeah.
And then you go on the other side with, JSN and Bobo and Cup. And, I mean, you've got to me, a receiving core that can threaten, and Rashid in a different way for Seattle. I think offensively they can threaten. New England has got to play a pretty clean game.
Yeah.
Like I said, the one thing that jumped in my mind as I was sitting around the other day thinking about this thing, like this time of year I always wind up thinking about it, is who has the ability to come back if necessary. A lot of what happened for New England has been Drake's ability to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see Seattle allowing that to happen. They're just not going to let him be able to pick up a 3rd and 12.
Yeah,
they have I think Seattle has a lot of team speed on defense, which helps them out in that situation. Yeah,
well, they got a lot of speed everywhere.
And I think of obviously Seattle possibly more famously lost the Super Bowl to New England with the pass call from the 1 yard line, but the Super Bowl Seattle won with the Legion of Boom. Denver was
dominated.
They jumped on the lead in that game against Denver and just never relinquished, right? I mean, the finals 43-8. It was a straight up ass kicking. I think it got to like 27-0 before Denver got on the board. I won't be shocked if we see the Seattle defense get out to a fast early lead, but New England plays some good D too. Like the Pats defense is legit.
Yeah, and you want to force Sam into mistakes. That's what that's what I think they have to do. To run the football, Kenneth Walker's a heck of a running back. I know Charbonnet is gone, but they're going to rely on him to be able to control a little bit of that stuff up front. You run some play action, and then don't be surprised in the first 2 series, you see him just let Rashid run down the field.
Yeah,
just drop back like he did against them. Just drop back and fire it down the field. I mean, you want to push those safeties back a bit. You want to push the corners back. You want to force them to worry about speed on the outside, and then JSN runs those little drag routes underneath, one from the left, one from the right.
Yeah,
and so the throwing lanes become easier to be able to get the ball to people. Do you have that in New England? What can Josh come up with conceptually to be able to attack Seattle's defense, which has been one of the best in the league? And you're going to study all 17 games. You're going to take pieces of what you have and maybe insert it the way you design it. I just don't see a lot of what I call them bubble screens, which is what they tried to do with Drake, get the ball out of his hands to Stephon in a short manner. I just don't see a lot of those things having success against Seattle's defense.
Yeah.
Shaheed, you mentioned him a few times, Joe, so I just looked this up. The next-gen stats now, clock speeds that guys hit on the football field.
He flies.
Shaheed this year has hit 22.7 miles per hour.
Gonzalez better get ready.
Oh, man.
Because the last week, the guy ran right past Gonzalez. They're going to send Shaheed.
But to try and put Christian on him alone would be asking for trouble. I think you just would be asking for trouble. And also remember, let a little bit of credit, and I think a guy who doesn't get enough credit is Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator for New England. he was a part of all those Super Bowls before.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody understands Super Bowl, Mike's been there as a head coach, but Josh has been there as a coordinator too. And now then it boils down to execution. We talked about that. How do how is Drake going to execute the plays? I think he's a young guy. This is all new, but it was new for me. It was new for us as a team. Sometimes if you don't know something, you don't need to worry. You can't really be worried about it because you don't know what it's going to be like.
True.
Right.
So you just experience it.
Well, it's kind of similar to the coordinators, right? Dan Quinn has now hired 2 first-time coordinators on both sides of the ball, but you never know what you can't do until you get a chance to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you got to have obviously you have to have the pieces to be able to execute the things you need. But I'm thrilled for both these young quarterbacks. And I still consider Sam a young guy. And I'm really, what Drake has been able to do, he really has taken the team in different instances and made big plays so that they can be where they are. But I think also if Seattle's going to be able to stay in this game and win this football game, they're going to have to run the football semi-effectively.
Yeah,
they're going to have to control that front somehow, some way by running the football.
Joe, thank you for the
Appreciate
time, man.
you, Joe.
Good luck with the weather down there in Tennessee. I hope it warms up and you guys thaw out.
Thanks, guys. Be safe. I'll talk to you. Bye.
All right, brother. Take care, man.